Hey, good. Hello, everyone. This is Peter Cipcowski. I am recording a conversation with Supervisor Rob Lagonia. It is April 17th, and I'm really happy to speak to Rob. This is the first in a series of conversations with a number of leaders in our community. Rob is the supervisor of the town of Austerlitz, just north of Hillsdale, and is also the chairman of the Columbia County Health and Human Services Committee. Is that right, Rob?
Yeah, exactly. Chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee.
So you are the first subject, Rob. So thank you very much for being willing to chat with me.
You're welcome.
We're going to post these on the library website so the community can at their leisure. And it seems like the whole world is changing now that we're all becoming a little bit more comfortable with this technology, and it's also a great way to add content to community websites, specifically in this time of crisis, because we are living through an historic moment, and what we're doing, Rob, is creating an oral history of this moment. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
What I'd like to start with, Rob, is could you just take a minute to tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to Austerlitz, your family and so on.
So I was born in New Rochelle, New York. My mom and dad, obviously, that's where we lived. My father worked in Mount Vernon, and they had a weekend home in Austerlitz, I think in around 1970, 71. And so we were weekenders, started out that way. And then in 1978, my parents decided that they wanted to move up here full time. So we came up. We came up for one summer and we never went back. So it was a little bit odd, but that's how we did it. And I ended up going to Chatham. I started in Chatham in 8th grade and finished high school in Chatham. And during that time, when we came up in 1978, we had a barn in Austerlitz, which many people remember. It used to be Lagonia's Fire Hill Inn. We started a restaurant. My father then semi-retired, never really retired, but he retired and I took it over. And since then, I went on to many other restaurants and businesses in the county. And during that time, I became the village judge in the village of Philmont. And at the same time, I became the town judge in Austerlitz. So I was holding two positions. And then about 6 years ago, I was asked to run for town supervisor in Austerlitz. And at that time, I agreed. And here I am. So 6 years I've been doing this. I was town and village judge between the two, 16 years. So I've been in public service for quite some time.
Rob, you have a point of view and a philosophy about public service that I admire. Could you talk a little bit about your approach?
Well, my approach has always been that I am not very political. Although I am a registered Republican, it's not why I do this. It's not for the party, it's for the people. And I've always been that way. I've always been cross-endorsed, at least most of my elected years. My board in Austerlitz, I'm the sole Republican. I was endorsed by the Democrats. I have 4 fantastic Democrats that work alongside of me. We've just changed and added another terrific person to our board. We work incredibly collaboratively, all of us. There's no politics. It's really what's best for the town, the people in my community. And similarly, when I work at the county, the first 2 years when I started at the county, I actually caucused with the Democrats, which I think was the best thing I ever did. It was good to see both sides. I do caucus with the Republicans now, but a lot of similarities between the two, that what goes on in caucus. There's a lot of terrific people on both sides. And I work equally as well with both parties. Frankly, I'd like to see more of that. My approach to it is I'd like to see more of that just in the general and obviously in the federal government, but at the county level for sure, I think we're doing much better with that. I think we all work very well together, the Republicans and the Democrats that are on the county level for sure. And I do know in my town, I know a lot of supervisors will ask, well, how does that work for you? It works great. We're all people. We all think we all have opinions, we all listen, and when we leave, whatever decision our board makes, we all stick with each other. So it's a very positive environment, and that's the only way I would do this. I don't want to be beholden to a party. I want to be beholden to the people. So that's been my approach, and it seems to work. I've worked alongside, when you first came on, I think you'll even say, probably I was one of the first supervisors to call you and say, if you need any help, if I can help you through anything, I'm here, just give me a buzz, happy to help. And I've done that with most of the new supervisors that come in, regardless of what party they're affiliated with.
Yeah, you've made everyone feel really welcome, Rob. You certainly made me feel welcome when I joined the Board of Supervisors. I want to talk more about the county, but before we do, let's just focus on Austerlitz for a minute. As supervisor, what are the kinds of challenges this crisis? What are the challenges that are being presented now to you as a supervisor? I'd love for you to talk about those a little bit and how you're approaching those challenges.
I think this crisis has been, interestingly, this year, I was asked to be the chairman of Health and Human Services. Obviously, I didn't know that this was going to come down and I would be the main focus of the county and what's going on because of it. I was asked to do it. I was happy to help. As far as the town goes, our town runs as it runs very smoothly, I will say. I have a deputy supervisor, Greg Vogler, that has been terrific. He works alongside of me. And I think the board in general has been terrific. So the board supports me. They trust me. So I think a lot of the decisions in the beginning obviously came down from me because I'm the one that's involved every day. I have a terrific clerk. Sue Haig is terrific. And we have a highway department that I also get along very well with. So our approach was, I think we were probably one of the first to close the town hall down, put protocols in place, cleaning protocols with our cleaning people that we have. The highway garage we kept open right from the beginning. And we made sure that everybody had the availability to work remotely. The town is running, I think, very well under this environment. And in some ways, some things that we're all learning like the Zoom conference that we're doing right now, or interview, we're going to be doing our first board meeting next Thursday night as a Zoom meeting where the public will be able to get on, and it'll be recorded and posted to our website. As leading up to this, technology has been, we've changed a lot of things at the town. We have a new website. We have a brand new town hall, which we just moved into. So we have the capacity to really run the town from, outside of being in the building. We don't have a lot of employees, so it's not a big problem. Our town clerk lives in Spencertown. She stops into the town hall very infrequently. She may leave something for me, and then I'll stop in and sign it, so we're not face to face. Our highway department is fully working. Our building inspector is not working from the building, but he's working. He's getting emails, phones transferred to him, and similarly with our town assessor. And in the month of April, we canceled all meetings. So this month will be the first time that we're going to start having Zoom meetings in the town.
Are you approaching any budget challenges that we're hearing about, maybe hitting municipalities from the county and the state? Yeah,
so one of the other things that I did immediately was freeze all spending, including all of the budgeted 0.4, which is basically for items that every department needs. We froze all of that. Right away I did that. Because aside from being the town supervisor, I'm also the budget person, and I do understand budgets very well, and I understand our budget very well, and I knew right away what this is going to mean to our budget as well as every town's budget. What most people don't understand is that most of our budget in our towns is not funded from taxes. Our town budget is funded with less than 50% being taxes. The rest of it we make up in sales tax. We make it up in fines and forfeitures. We make it up in mortgage tax, some state funding, et cetera. So one of the things that we do get is CHIPS money, which is money to use on our roads. And we had planned to do quite a bit of work this year. We had a very aggressive road plan this year, which we stopped because I know that we're going to have major shortfalls everywhere, including the CHIPS funding, which every town relies on heavily. We are looking at, the state is saying a 17 or 18% reduction in funding to our towns, through sales tax and all of the other items that I just mentioned. I think it could be higher. So we've, ceased all spending. We happen to be, I'm very proud of that, but when I started, we did not have a healthy fund balance. We do now. We've done a lot of projects in the town, so we'll be able to weather the storm. And my main goal is that at the end of this, if we do have a 20% loss in revenue, that we won't hit the taxpayers up with that we'll be able to absorb that through good management. So that's my plan, and I think we'll be able to attain that. I don't think most people understand that how important sales tax revenue is to all of the townships in the county. I think that's a major part of many towns' budgets, including ours. Last year, we took in over $200,000 just in sales tax revenue. And the number one item that sales tax in the county is gas. So right now, gas prices are way down. Nobody's traveling. So obviously, that's going to be down. And number two is restaurants. And food, restaurants, bars, obviously they're all closed other than takeout. So those two are going to be a pretty major hit. Some of the towns are going to have over $100,000 potentially in just sales tax loss. So we're watching that, we're on top of it, and I think we stopped right away with a lot of our plans, which I think will absolutely help us to get through this.
So Rob, you're talking about restaurants, and not only are you supervisor in a community and leader in the county, but you're also a business owner. So would you mind sharing a little bit about what you're facing as a restaurant
Yeah, absolutely.
owner?
I've owned I think 7 restaurants. We just have one right now in Chatham. We sold our other restaurant that we had in Albany about a year and a half ago. It's hard to believe how quickly this hit everybody, and it's affecting everybody, not just the restaurant industry, but the restaurant industry has been decimated. We started this around the middle of March, and all of a sudden we went from a very profitable, thriving business to, just like hard to believe. I have a 3,400 square foot restaurant in Chatham. We have over 100 seats. All the chairs are up on the tables. I've let go half of my staff, I would say. We're trying to keep as many people as we possibly can. We're not selling any alcohol, even though we're allowed to, but that, people aren't taking cocktails to go or beer to go. So one of the positives for us is that we were already a well-established takeout restaurant in Columbia County. So, it's very hard to reinvent yourself during a crisis. So if you have a fine dining restaurant that all of a sudden says, oh, we're doing takeout and we're doing delivery, it's going to be very challenging for them to make it. And as you can see, many restaurants are already closing up shop, going out of business, can't sustain. And now this order has gone on until it's been pushed out to May 15th. It's another month. I think it's going to be just dreadful for most businesses. We are, surviving. We've changed our hours. We used to be open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. We're only open at 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock now every day. We've added delivery to try to enhance our sales. I'm very diligent with watching hours. I have a lot of wonderful people that work for me that have been with me for years that I am trying to keep as busy as possible so they have some money in their pockets. They've been terrific with me. They support, what I'm doing. They understand, but it's horrible for everybody. It's not just the restaurant industry, but I can tell you in my industry, it's awful. So we're managing through it. We'll see. My biggest fear is what we look like once we start going back to some semblance of normalcy. I don't know that we're going to be right back to normal. I already know we're not going to be that, just based on my knowledge of where we are in health at the health department. But it's going to be a challenge. You're not all of a sudden just going to flip a switch and have restaurants fill all the dining room up. You're going to have waitresses with masks on or gloves on. And how are people going to interact with my staff? And how are they going to interact with other customers? And, my bar business, people aren't going to be sitting at the bar. So I'm already thinking future, what does this mean for me? I mean, is it realistic that I'm going to stay where I am in a 3,400 square foot footprint, with 100+ seats, or should I think about reinventing myself? And then the thought of reinventing yourself during these times is frightening. So I guess I would say we're doing better than most, but we're all in this together. So it's tough.
Yeah. No, it's pretty devastating to a lot of small businesses, and there's so much uncertainty in our lives. It's hard to fathom what the road ahead looks like. But at the county level, Rob, you've been really front and center and working really closely with our county leaders, and your chair of Health and Human Services. So could you talk a little bit about what's working and maybe not what's working at the county level, and how we might be able to learn from this experience? I mean, we've all been thrown into this fire. And I know a lot of us are scrambling to figure it out. And of course, we've been debilitated by lack of equipment and masks and some of the basic things that our workers should have. So there've been insurmountable challenges, small and large. But tell us a little bit about your experience as chair and your observations.
So I've been, involved with the county, but not as involved, obviously, as I am now. I've never really had the time to get that involved in the county, although I make the meetings and I've been on many committees, which is how the county is run. But this year, in January, I became the chair of Health and Human Services, which is the health department, mental health, DSS, Office of the Aging, and Youth Services. So as I was learning these positions and figuring out, how all of these departments run, we got hit with COVID, and which is in March. So the chairman of the board, Matt Morrell, formed this committee with, there's about anywhere between 6 and 10 people every day at 11 o'clock. We have a phone conference 7 days a week. Emergency services, the sheriff, the undersheriff, the county attorney, another supervisor, Sarah Sterling from Hudson. Matt Morrell is on this call. And Chuck Kaiser's on this call. And every day, Jack Mabb, who's the head of the health department, obviously he's on the call as well. Every day it starts off with basically what's going on in the county, what challenges every single department has had, what the uptick in positives are, how the nursing homes are going. And then after everybody gives their basically what their questions are or what's going on their end, then we try to figure out how best to deal with each and every issue that comes up every day, which are numerous. I think it's a terrific group of people. Every single person that's in there is working their tail off. We're on the calls on Sundays, if sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night, we're on these phone calls. And I think it's been a learning experience for all of us, even the people that are part of emergency services that do this much more often than I do. This is new. This is completely new. I mean, there are the most horrific things that we have to plan for, which is for deaths, and where we have to have a certain amount of cooler space for bodies, just in case this were to blow up in the county. And then the biggest challenge we face every day is PPE, which is personal protective equipment for everybody. We hear it from both the federal government, the state government, that we have enough of these items, and the bottom line is we do not. So I've taken a leadership role in this whole situation. I've never been a person that's posted anything on Facebook other than for my business. And in the beginning of this, I sort of just posted some opinion piece of mine. I wrote, and it just blew up. And it became my Facebook page has become the source of information for the county now, because I'm only posting factual information that I know that I can vet and make sure that it's completely 100% truthful before I put it on there. And with that has come private messaging, and I'm helping people with everything, their businesses, helping them with the IRS situation, helping with where to get masks. I've taken a leadership role on masks. So I started out with getting donations from different people in the community for masks. These are all cloth masks, and it's blown up. There are many days I just show up at my restaurant and there's a bag on the door, or a box comes from UPS and I have masks. And then I call the sheriff, David Bartlett. I say, hey, David, we need 100 masks at DSS. We need so many masks at the Board of Elections. We need so many masks at the district attorney's office, and so on. He sends deputies down, picks them up, and then distributes them. So that's been terrific. The community's been fantastic about that, but everybody's overworked. Everybody that's sewing can't get material, can't get elastic. And we're learning things like the mask that everybody was making at first had ties in the back, and everybody didn't want ties. They wanted elastic. So we started making them with elastic. We, meaning not me, I didn't make any mask. And now we find that the elastic is irritating people's ears because they're wearing them for so many hours. So now we're going back to ties. So we've had those challenges. Obviously, the nursing homes are a big challenge. And testing is just, it's basically non-existent. Every day we post how many people we've tested and how many positives we have and how many are recovering and how many are in ICU and how many, et cetera. We've tested over 700 people in the county, but that's a county of 63,000 people. We broke the 100 positive count a couple days ago, and it's going up. As we start testing more, it's gonna really go up. We just purchased at the county 1,000 test kits that are coming in from California, and I heard today that they're gonna ship Monday. So we're gonna be setting up some test sites in the county where we can then do much more testing, and we're talking about buying more test kits. There is a lot of misinformation out there about serological tests and all these different tests. There's only one test kit right now, these rapid tests that's approved by the FDA. And we haven't been able to get enough information on that test kit to find out exactly where it is, how we can get it. So there's a challenge. I mean, the governor today was talking about we can't do enough testing. And that's the issue that's slowing down us reopening the economy, is that there really isn't enough supplies for testing. And what people don't understand is everybody we test, and if they test positive, they have to do contact tracing, which means they have to go back and find all the different people that may have been affected by this person and then contact them. We don't have the staff to do that for everybody. So even when we do the testing in these test sites, which we're going to pick one in Hudson, it appears, we're going to have to limit how many we do in a day, because then we have a lot of work to do after that. These test kits will be sent up to Wadsworth and Albany. They take about 48 hours or so to come back to us. And once we find out who's positive, now we have to contact all these individuals and figure out what we're going to do with that. There's a shortage of thermometers. People are asking, where do we get thermometers? I get these emails. All of a sudden, I've become the Walmart of Columbia County. and the bottom line is we can't get them. And so we are just constantly struggling. A lot of the masks that we just put a purchase order in today, actually, for 20,000 or 25,000 masks that we're buying through somebody in Albany that I happen to know that's getting them from China. The masks will come in, but that individual even said that sometimes that they get stuck in the port because the Chinese government holds them, so we can't get them right away. The shipping costs are astronomical. K95 masks, which is what everybody wants. These are the masks that they use in hospitals. What most people don't understand about those is they have to be fitted to everybody. They have to be, so we need people that can fit these masks to people, otherwise they don't work. There's another mask that they call a KN95 mask, which are a little more easy to get, not quite as good as the K95 mask. So we've been working on purchasing those. We get individuals that'll reach out to us from other states and say, hey, we're donating 1,000 masks, we're gonna send them. So the community, the people, not just in our community, but people, anybody that's had a tie to our community has been fantastic. And then we have the other aspect of this is the fear factor. We have people that are working in the county, you know, essential workers, and they're deathly afraid every day of catching this. So there's just a lot going on, and we're doing our best to try to accommodate as many people as we possibly can. The sheriff's department, you know, is dealing with calls of where, you know, people are complaining that there's still groups gathering or there's too many people in a certain area, and they're wasting their time and efforts on some of those types of things. And then we talk about that. We're also finding out that potentially maybe bandanas are the best thing for everybody right now. I found a source for that, so I have some coming, because those you could sort of leave down at your neck, and when you need it, pull it up, and they're a little less intrusive to your face. So there's a lot going on. And we talked about budgetary issues at the town. Now we have massive budgetary issues, as you know, in the county, and how we're going to approach that. So there's all of that going on. And then there's the second part of this, which we talked about today, which is when we pivot to start opening businesses, and who's going to be on the forefront of that, and how do we do that? And what does that look like? And so there's a lot going on.
And it's April 17th. The governor just has mandated that we are sort of staying in place until the 15th of May.
Correct.
And we don't know what the road will be ahead beyond that.
Just don't know. And he also mentioned testing, and that's the really what everybody talks about: testing. That's great, but how do you do that? Where do you get the test kits, and what does that really look like? Right. So it's a monumental task for everybody. I appreciate everybody that's involved, and no matter what they're doing, large or small, I'm just thrilled that anybody's involved and wants to help, because it's a major issue.
And we appreciate you, Rob. I personally thank you for everything you've been doing. You have been a source of information. I know that the chairman has done a great job of issuing press releases, and that's been extremely vital to getting the word out. But you have also been giving us a great deal of facts and details, and I've been taking that information and sharing it with my community on our newsletter and on our Facebook page. So thank you for all of that information, for being the clearinghouse, for being the Walmart of Columbia County, and also for being the leader that you are on the committee at the county level. I want to give you a moment to communicate anything else that you think that you'd like to say to our listeners. I hope we'll have some. I suspect we'll have a few. I suspect we may have more than a few, Rob. So
I would say that the masks, those that are making masks, if they could continue to make and get them to me, would be a huge, massive help to everybody. I mean, we have almost 1,000 employees alone just in Columbia County. And there's many challenges as to how we get people back, and especially the departments that I oversee, like mental health. There's many people in the community that are going to come in and maybe don't have the means to get a mask, or maybe haven't even been watching TV, don't have internet. I want to make sure those people also have access to the things that we have access to. So that's something that's super important. I also want to just say to anybody in the county or anybody watching this, if they have any questions whatsoever, I'm happy to answer them, happy to help, or at least point them in the right direction. I have learned a lot about COVID-19 in a month. And one day in the meeting at 11 o'clock, Jack Mabb, who's the head of the health department, said, when we started, Rob, you were asking me a lot of questions. Now I'm starting to ask you some questions because I am a person that does a lot of research. And I think because my restaurant, the hours have changed and I have a lot of energy, I've sort of immersed myself in this COVID-19. So I do have a lot of information. So I just would like to say everybody to stay healthy. And I hope their families are healthy, they are healthy. And hopefully if we had all adhered to the executive orders, we can all get back to some sort of sense of normalcy, and hopefully in the near future. I do agree that we need to get businesses open, but we have to have a safe means and a way to do that. So I surely am advocating for that. I'm a business person. We need to get going here. We can't sit at home and hide forever, but there has to be a reasonable way to do that so that people aren't dying. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I appreciate you asking me to come on, Peter.
No, thank you so much, Rob, for your time today and for everything you're doing, and appreciate the friendship and the partnership you've given me.
So do I, Peter. I appreciate our friendship. Thank you.
Stay safe.
You too.
I'll end this meeting. Thank you so much, Supervisor Rob Lagonia. And 100 years from now, Rob, people will be looking at you.
Thank you.
What the heck was all that about back in 2020?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.